Um, One of the things I forgot to do when we were in the progressive unit was to talk about two African American men, Booker T. Washington and Webb Du Bois. Before I start this poem on them and we talk about what were their differences, I want us to do a little comparison about these guys' life beforehand. So I just put a little chart here for Booker T and Webb. Let me move this over. Sorry, guys, because Booker's name is not coming out. So one of the things that we need to know about Booker is that he was a slave. However, Webb Du Bois lived a little bit of a different life. Webb Du Bois, he went to Fisk University. After Fisk University, he will go to Harvard University. They live drastically different lives. Yes, he was a slave, but however, we're going to see that Booker T. Washington will go to Hampton Institute. Sorry, guys. Let me get this in. Come on, click over. We're going to see that he goes to Hampton Institute. And Hampton Institute is a little bit different than Fisk and Harvard. This is a vocational school. Okay, so this is the first thing that is the major differences in them. We see that Booker T, he comes from the bottom, he rises up, and he goes to the vocation school. However, Webb, he has a little bit more of a different type of education. And this will play into our poem that we will see. So I'm going to go to our poem. This is by Dudley Randall. It says, "It seems to me," said Booker T, "it shows a mighty lot of cheek to study chemistry and Greek, when Mr. Charles needs a hand to hoe the cotton on his land, and when Miss Anne looks for a cook, why stick your nose inside of a book?" So this first half, Booker T is saying, we shouldn't be studying the finer, the liberal arts, the sciences. That African Americans should stay in their traditional vocational role. So I'm going to come back to I have a little chart that I'm doing on them. Okay, so he's going to encourage African Americans in trades. Okay, trades such as vocational jobs, which we see the land, cooking that he mentioned. There will be other vocational jobs that we'll talk about. I don't know what happened to my stuff. Okay, so let's go back to see what the rebuttal is. Okay, so Webb says, "I don't agree," said Webb. "If I should have the drive to seek knowledge of chemistry or Greek, I'll do it. Charles and Miss can look another place for a hand or a cook. Some men rejoice in the skill of hand, and some in cultivating the land. But there are others who maintain in the right to cultivate the brain." So Webb has a different view of education. He's saying that African Americans, he's going to encourage I'm going to abbreviate. No, I need to write it all out. African Americans in college education. Okay, so we have two different interpretations of what kind of schooling African Americans should have. Okay, let's keep on going because it's going to be a rebuttal. "It seems to me," said Booker T, "that all you folks have missed the boat who shout about the right to vote and spend vain days and sleepless nights in uproar over civil rights. Just keep your mouth shut and do not grouse, but work and save and buy a house." So we see that what Booker here is arguing that African Americans should, I need to capitalize that A. African Americans should focus on economic equality before political equality. Okay, so let's go back to our poem, and I'm just putting these things out there because you'll definitely see these two guys on the test. So it says, "I don't agree," said Webb, "for what can property avail if dignity and justice fail? Unless you help make the laws, they'll steal your house with a trumped up clause. A rope is tight, a fire is hot. No matter how much cash you got, speak soft and try your little plan. But as for me, I'll be a man. It seems to me, said Booker T, I don't agree, sings Webb. So if we look at Webb's stance, he's saying that African Americans should focus on political equality. Okay, so we have two different interpretations of how things should be done. Webb is going to focus on the political equality, and he's going to create an organization called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which we know as the NAACP. We're going to see that his path, he's going to say, look, we have the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. We should be given this. And we're going to see many people seeing that he is being more radical. He has a radical path for equality. Even though he's trying to achieve their rights of the 14th and 15th Amendment, he's actually breaking up the social structure in the South. He's going to propose a plan called the Talented 10th. And what this means is to educate the top 10 in African American society and let them go to these highly elite universities. And they will become the doctors. They will become the lawyers in the African American community. And we're going to see that our historically black colleges and universities are going to be created at this time based off this idea of the Talented 10th. Educate the most talented African Americans so that those African Americans could tend to the needs of their community through lawyers, through doctors, through education. And so our historically black schools will be open at this time. We see Texas A&M Prairie View, we see Howard University being created, Fisk University, all across the South. These universities will be created to educate these talented few. However, on this side, we're going to see that Booker is going to suggest, look, let them get just a typical education, vocational. And he's going to create an institute called Tuskegee Vocational College, it's a vocational technical school. And what they're going to do is they're going to educate in the trades. And this is keeping African Americans still on the bottom of society. And he will give his speech called the Atlanta Compromise that says African Americans should maintain trade jobs. And his path to equality is a milder path. He's telling African Americans, if you get a skill in a vocation, you'll get money and you could then demand your equality. Okay, guys, I hope you liked our little poem and our notes on these two guys. So it could help you on your review quiz and then on your test.